So, hey, I did say that I'd be checking in while I was doing this class. And I just noticed a few things actually while I was studying my history class on this assignment. It's one of my telepath lessons, and we're going into depth on the Reagan years. And I just noticed, and again, just keep in mind as I'm talking about this, it's all for informational purposes, but history does repeat itself. And one part they said that was very interesting to me was how just under the Reagan administration, we saw how, what was it? The federal funding for the state was slashed from 22% of the federal budget in 1980 to just 6% by the time he left office. So during that 8 years, we went from 22% of a federal budget in the 80s down to 6%. Not only that, but states start cutting spending. They've been cutting spending on education, sanitation, police, and the fire departments, as well as the infrastructure since the 1980s. And this has heavily impacted the middle class. But guess who wasn't really affected at all by these so-called recessions? It seems that under Reaganomics, the wealthy enjoyed a 9% increase in their income. The middle class only saw a 1% increase in their income, and the poor families saw their incomes decline by 8%. This especially affected single mother households and African Americans who were able to see the sharpest declines. Does that not sound familiar as to what we're going through now? One thing I will say that I'm very proud of us for, though, although they've tried to say that, as African Americans, our spending is up, but our equity is down. Honestly, with all the new black businesses opening and a lot of them being by women, hey, one being for myself, I find that hard to believe. I think they want us to stay in this mindset that we're on the lower end of things, but I definitely feel like even though we're in sort of what a recession is right now, because our deficit for inflation is over 6-7%. So what was this? It says that in 1984 there was another income tax that even further reduced the top income rates from 70% to 28%, and that was another a cut income tax. So we would go from 70 to 20% from 28%, which as a result, the budget deficit, which was already 2.6% during Reagan's first year, fluctuated between 3% and 6% during the rest of his first term. And that was just the first term. Not only that, they gave him a second term. So he had 8 years to go ahead and continue to fuck us over. And not only that, but it says that in 1986, our budget deficit grew larger. So Reagan, isn't he just so wonderful? Proposed another tax reform bill that would close more loopholes in the tax code. It says that he traveled the country spreading a message of fairness, growth, and simplicity. While the Republican supporters argued with his administration to abandon the bill, the Tax Reform Act became law in October of '86. Although Reagan is widely associated with tax cuts, federal tax receipts grew considerably during his 8 years in office. So we're up here giving congratulations for tax cuts and stuff to this man, and he's a big part of the reason that our shit is still fucked up now to this day. And when y'all say history don't repeat itself, or why is history important to learn, teach this part of the black history. Tell us this part. You don't got to just talk slavery. Teach us some different parts about how it's really been set up for us to fail. And I'm just very proud of my people that we are as resilient as we are. Because I don't see us failing. I actually see another Black Wall Street getting started. And I feel like that's why a lot of this shit is trying to crash the economy. Because you see the black spending going up, which means the black dollar is increasing, correct? Okay, okay. Our spending power is increasing. We just gotta make sure that we're sending that spending power energy into our own markets, which is why I'm so proud of the fact that we have so many black entrepreneurs who are starting all different types of businesses. Listen, somebody can start a ketchup brand. I'll be supporting it, okay? Like they said, how many different brands of ketchup are there? How many different brands of hot sauce, barbecue sauce? It don't matter that somebody else did it. All that matters is that you're able to come into the market and add your own spin on it. And trust that your people will be behind you and support you. And I think that's where a lot of our coming together as a community has to happen. Is it the support of these businesses, which I can say we've definitely been supporting. So, you know, hand clap to us because, I don't ever feel like the news really correctly portrays us. I believe that black spending is up, but I also do believe that black spending on black business is up. And I know that it's been a very hard few years, especially with them introducing COVID. And now we even found out that our access to go different places is cut short, especially if you don't have a vaccine. So, just keep in mind that you may be able to withhold us with these laws that you keep trying to make mandates, but they only work for so long. Just like when they burned down the first few Black Wall Streets that we've had in Tulsa, the one that was Seneca Park, who is this, or Seneca Village, where the New York Park now sits. Trust and believe our ancestors did not leave us here without a plan. And I honestly feel like there is a large fear of Black power rising once again. We are known to be a violent people. Since we're talking about history, I'm going to go ahead and just slide this in there. Black people, they want you to not think that we are a violent people and it's always been us who have just been, unruly and savage. But who are the real savages? When y'all are participating in cannibalism, the raping and pillaging of many cultures and villages, the spreading of many pestilences and diseases, of which my people knew nothing of before you and your people came to us. Even if you want to look deeper into Mongoloidism, what they now call Down syndrome, and that's not to say anything on those people because I actually carry one of those traits. And if I'm not careful with who I have a baby with, I can actually create a baby who would have Mongoloid syndrome, as they now call Down syndrome. And I'm just like, it's very important that we begin to get to know our history so that we can protect ourselves. Because did you know that there's a lot of stuff they don't even tell us medically? As a people, they withhold a lot of different information from us. I really want us to get into self-education of our own, which is why even within my own business, I offer different creative outlets to allow self-expression to give you motivation in whatever it is that you're doing. Because within our times, especially for our Black men and women, it's important that we stay motivated. These are the trying times. This is what separates the weak from the strong. And I'm not saying that you're weak for crying. I'm saying if you're not carrying on. Because trust, this is not the first test that we've been through that's tested our people. And it probably will not be the last, as history has shown us. But this is where we get to see who's going to stand up and who's going to shut up. Standing up does not always mean you're out here marching around the streets, although that is one way to show that you're standing for the people. Another way, start some of these businesses. Like it's been said, a lot more Black counselors are needed so that way the understanding is there. this is why I started my own practice. And I found that motivational coaching for our people, especially college moms, African American, Black, however you want to consider yourself, college moms, is needed. Yes, in one sense, they say college is a scam and all this and that. But I will say, and me going for the psychology degree, I also feel like it's important to understand the Western psychology behind the treatments that they've tried to give me. Oh, baby, this is beautiful. And I just understand that the healing has to come from within our own people. What I mean from within our own people, not only does it need to come from our own people, but our people need to also go within themselves to be able to heal. Find out what's making you tick. How are you motivated? If you don't believe in God, that's fine. But what do you believe in? What is keeping your head up when things like COVID or the pandemic are happening? How are you able to steadily tell yourself it's not the end? This is not going to be where I fall off. Like, listen, I love me some Cher. Okay, that song that she got on Burlesque. And no, she's not Black, but it don't matter because the message is all the same. As long as you can grab onto the message within any type of creative expression, that's what matters most. She had a song in the movie Burlesque. And you haven't seen the last of me. When I Say, my boy, aha, that song right there, along with Mary J. Blige song, I Can Do Better By Myself. Those are two of my soul songs, okay? I be singing it from my soul because I feel it. And I know what it's like to be down. I know that when we look at stuff like this from history, some of it gets depressing. And it sounds like, well, damn, all the odds are always stacked against me. How do I get up? You get up by continuously finding motivation and strength in what's around you. If you don't believe in God, I know you believe in your kids because they're right here in front of you. Are you really going to sit there and let them have a bleak future because you see one in front of you as bleak? We have to be able to realize that when our ancestors were sitting on the plantations and they were dreaming about freedom, it was a dream, but they had to make a reality. And I think that's what we cannot go weak at. We cannot go weak just before turning our dreams into our reality. Today is February 22nd of 2022. If you know anything about angel numbers, that is a powerful angel number in and of itself. Use this energy today. Use it to picture yourself, balance yourself, and see yourself where you want to be, see where you've been, and see where you are, and make sure that it's aligning. Because we can use those lessons from where we've been to help us to plant ourselves firmly for where we are so that we can grow where we want to and grow into who we want to be. But it all starts with you. It does. And we cannot let our goal be perfection because that stops us so much. I know, especially being younger, that's a lot of what stopped me from releasing my book, from releasing my poetry. I felt that I wasn't perfect. It wasn't time for it to be released yet. I wasn't doing the best. But I had to realize I'm at my best when I'm at my most creative. I'm at my best already. Even if I have to tweak a poem and I rewrite it 4 or 5 times, my best is still the first one. Because the first one was the layout for the last one and the final version, but it didn't get there without the first version. So what I want to go ahead and do today in honor of 222, 2022, I am going to go ahead and release some karaoke, which is another form of creative expression for myself. I used to do a lot, especially when I was younger, of what I call scream singing. I think that is a very great therapeutic release of my energy and being able to express myself vocally. Um, you know that I tell you like just scream. Sometimes just screaming nothing isn't enough. I need to be able to scream the pain and the words that I feel. And songs like Mary J. Blige, I Can Do Better By Myself. Songs from Cher. Um, Even songs like Fire and Desire. Being able to share and scream my emotions from happier places, or even being able to express how I felt at those different moments and times, whether it be my first love, whether it be, you know, my love that I felt from my children, to what I felt for past partners, to being able to realize where I went wrong and still see that it doesn't make me weak to have once been in those emotions, but it makes me stronger for being able to recognize where my lack of boundary was that led me to those emotions. And being able to face myself and say, you're not weak for being there, but you're strong for being able to recognize that that's where you once were. You're strong for being able to apply it to your current and take those lessons and move yourself forward into those blessings, okay? And even just, that's not even the only part. I'm heavy into my journalism. My poetry came from journaling, actually. I'm heavy into my journaling. Uh, when you are an overthinker, I suggest keeping you some pen and paper, because a lot of the times where we stop ourselves is in being able to think so much in our heads, we don't allow ourselves to be able to see it in black and white. And I can honestly say, having a journal that I'm able to look back onto from 2 and 3 years ago from my thoughts and be like, dang, like, I willed this to happen. I wanted a peaceful break from my ex, and it happened. And just even knowing how toxic that situation was and being able to sit there and have that closing conversation and know that I have the power in every situation, and in being able to recognize where I allowed myself to be abused. Because you gotta remember, you're not a child forever. And though some things happen to you as a child, which you then take into your adulthood, you then take on, and those are your responsibilities. And it's your job to go within on a root level. Go back to that root chakra, anybody who does meditation, and begin to undo the trauma that's been done. Begin to recognize it at its base level. Because for me, someone who had been sexually abused, this was a practice where I got used to just letting people touch me or do whatever, because when I was a child, there was no protection for me. And then even growing up and realizing that I didn't use my no strongly enough to where I was still putting myself in situations where things could happen, I had to take responsibility and stop allowing myself to be put in those situations. So that way I can no longer say that someone's doing something to me. And I felt that at one point that was where I was getting my power back. Oh, well, if I allow it to happen, then am I really a victim? Am I really, you know, uh, someone's, what would I want to say? Am I really deserving of sympathy if I'm allowing something to happen to me? And I had to grow to realize it's not sympathy that I need. It's the power to be able to recognize that I had created an unhealthy coping mechanism due to the fact that me being touched and raped and abused was okay for so long in my childhood, and not having the proper authorities there to stand up for me, no matter me lifting my voice and all, that I need to then create my protection. I need to then be able to set those boundaries, not only for myself, but for others. And let them know that it's not okay to cross those boundaries with me. That I have something to stand on. And that's just pretty much it. I remember someone telling me that if you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And I can remember at a time I fell for anything. I didn't know me. I didn't know how to love me. And yet I wanted love. And I went out there and I was looking for it in all the wrong places and in all the wrong ways. And because people tried to love me, I had to realize they couldn't love me properly. Because I didn't even know what I needed to be loved properly. And was that their fault? No, it was not. Because they were only loving me as best they could where I was at in that moment. And it's okay to go beyond certain places, people, and things due to the fact that you've now learned yourself. And now that you know how to love yourself, it's okay if others don't accept the love that you give to yourself. But you have to then realize that you don't have to accept what's given. You can then choose to heal yourself. Write about it creatively. Talk about it if that's something that helps you. And for me, I've found in being able to express my story more and even realizing that I'm not alone. I'm not the only one who's gone through this story. There are other foster kids. There are other black college moms. There are other black women. There are other women. There are other people who understand me, who understand my story, my need for expression, and whatever form that may be. Whether it come across creatively or not to some, it's all about how I perceive it with my own tongue. Because I'm the one who's going to bear witness to this story. Because what? I was there. Past, present, and future. I was there. So who can I not lie to at any point in time? Even being able to realize that it even takes another level of healing, even dealing with your children. Because a lot of us, I know people look at me like, oh, well, the answer is to beat your kids. Beat them, beat them, beat them. I'm like, you don't know what me and my kids are going through at this moment in time. So you're telling me to beat them, but they're coming to me, and I love my kids for this reason, and expressing their feelings and emotions. And it's some of the ones that I can relate to. Even at their age, I remember going through those feelings and needing someone not to beat me, but to help me understand and to manage my emotions. Because that's what they were. They were my emotions. And I think that so many times we're so quick to want to beat our kids because, like they call me Mama Bennett said, we get upset within ourselves and we get frustrated and we don't know how to handle our own emotions. So what do? Because we can't control our children or their emotions. We beat them for them. and we beat them so that they suppress these emotions, and then they get in again. It continues the trauma because now instead of them being able to deal with that emotion and recognize what it is and how to properly express it, now we've told them, don't express that emotion. I'm gonna beat it out of you. And that's not the mentality we should have toward these kids. If we don't want another generation that's going to continuously be slaves and just be beaten and beat because, oh, I can't show this emotion. That's what's wrong with some of our black men today. Not feeling safe enough to be able to express themselves in any way, shape, or form because it's not safe. Whether the mama's beating them for acting out, whether the daddy's not there, whether teachers are telling them that they're not worth anything, whether they're going to school, and this is just recently from the last 2 or 3 years. Black boys needing to go to therapy after having been taught their history incorrectly or in a way that was traumatizing to them. I'm not saying that we need to cut slavery out of school, period, when we're teaching it. I'm saying that there's a way that we need to teach these children that Mansa Musa, a black man, was the richest man on this earth. This man was worth 400 billion. Not a nigga on this earth, whether he be white, Mexican, whatever you want to claim yourself to be, can say that he has touched 400 billion. And when we talk about the energy behind our people and their need and desire to heal, we have to first recognize it within ourselves. We have to first be able to recognize our own trauma before you can then help somebody else with theirs. And a lot of people be like, oh, well, you're just talking, but I'm talking from experience. I have been told by a lot of people, old and young, and this is why I feel like my audience, it varies because though you see me in the flesh, my soul is recognized by many as old, even including myself. So I hope that you continue to take this journey with me and give your creative mindset a chance to flourish. Remember, progression, not perfection.